It is time for a top-level match of professional Zerg versus Terran. Both of the players in this game are some of the very best that we have ever had in StarCraft 2. Spawning here in the southeast corner of the map and playing with the purple Zerg drones. I have to say, the purple colors, they do look awesome. We are currently looking inside of the main base of Dark. And his opponent, ooh, would you look at that, already sending out a worker as well as a second one towards the other side of the map. He's also from South Korea. He's playing with the red Terran SCVs. We are currently looking inside of the main base of TY. So TY has decided to open up a little bit aggressive in this particular match. Even a third SCV is right now making its way towards the other side. That does mean that TY is gonna heavily commit to this marine cheese here in the earlier part of the game. And I know it's a marine cheese because at this point there's no gases taken inside of the main base just yet. You can see that TY right now is cutting out SCVs as well, so he is most definitely very committed with this pressure. Now one of the overlords, yeah, look at that. Dark already has his star senses tingling. One of the overlords is currently on its way to scout this relatively popular cheese location. Now, obviously, it's always a little bit of a gamble. Both of the overlords are looking around, trying to see if they can find any kind of early game aggression. In this case, he will be able to do so, but obviously, if these barracks went down over here, that overlord would not have seen this until much later. That does mean, though, that Dark is going to be aware of the fact that this aggression is coming. Let's have a look at his response. He did decide to go for a very quick low ground expansion here. Another drone is already out as well, trying to see if it can probably kill any kind of bunker building SCVs. And speaking of which, I think TY is going to plant down one here in just a little bit. But instead, Dark decides to re-rally that drone to make a hatchery at the third. This is not actually a response that I've seen that often before. Couple of Marines right now, though, going after that very first Overlord. That's a big deal. Losing that at this point in the game is going to be very painful. That does mean that Dark will very likely hit a supply block here, and that's gonna make it rough. He won't be able to know really if there's going to be continued aggression here either. So Dark, it looks like he's just giving up the low ground, and he's gonna try and bank on building up his third hatchery instead. This is not a very common response. I guess if he only uses, or he only loses the natural hatchery, that's fine, right? Although Dark still decides to pull at least a whole bunch of drones here to try and go after some of those SCVs here as well. Couple of those drones already do end up going down, and I think, yeah, that was a little bit later than you want that to happen there, because TY is already finishing up the bunker. Those SCVs stayed alive just fine, and I think that is pretty much all she wrote right now for that hatchery here on the low ground. Now keep in mind, this hatchery still provided supply. It still provided, I guess, a birthing place right there for one of those queens. So it's not gonna be a complete waste of time. On top of that, the creep tumor could also be planted down on the low ground. So as long as Dark only loses the hatch, I think that might be okay. Still though, TY is gonna continuously send more and more of those Marines towards his opponent's main base, but at this point he is completely unaware of the fact that there's already a new hatchery that has gone up. So where is he gonna take this right now? Okay, so he's gonna lift up the barracks and send them back home. This is kind of cheeky here by Dark, right? Taking a bit of a gamble, taking the third hatchery here already. He's gonna start making some additional Zerglings here, and he should be able to, at the very least, keep that one alive. The thing is, most of the time, if you force Zerg to sit on one base, they'll follow it up with, like, some sort of Ravager aggression or maybe some Zergling Baneling stuff. In this case, it would be extremely unlikely for Dark to just simply go ahead and have a third base already. And TY, I think he may have just been outsmarted. Zerglings are gonna try and make their way across the map right now as well. Dark should be able to make short work of that bunker here, although one Marine is feeling brave enough, and TY does indeed figure out what it is he is going up against right now. Cheeky one. I guess he probably assumed that his opponent would have already sent some more units down that low ground. But instead, I guess this is now, well, certainly still an advantage here for Terran, but it definitely, for the most part, has been evened up. Now, it's very easy to look at the supply count right now and think, okay, Terran definitely is very far behind, but obviously you have to keep in mind that there's gonna be a lot of time here where the Zerg is not really going to be able to do that much unless he is willing to go for an all-in. So indeed, I was gonna say, he does need to lift those depots here, but indeed, right now, the Terran player is building not only a single command center, but a second one as well. And I think if that was spotted actually here by Dark, that could have maybe triggered an all-in for him. In this case, I think he's likely gonna try and just simply play the macro game here as well. So once again, that natural expansion will be acquired, and obviously Dark has been droning up his main as well as his third base for a little while longer already. So from here on out, right, TY invested a lot of resources in the early game to go for that aggression, but then he followed it up with additional command centers. So essentially, it's going from like the most aggressive build into the most greedy build. And the only reason why this very greedy build works is because he already ended up dealing a little bit of damage there in the early game, and it's gonna allow him to start getting a stupid amount of resources here really early on into the game. He's now also gonna follow it up with a Banshee as well as the cloaking field, and it does look like we have one of those barracks scouting around. Second one actually scouting around as well. So I guess, I guess this is going to be a mech transition then? I mean, I don't really see a world where you would start scouting with 2 barracks if you could be researching Stimpack right now, right? So I'm assuming TY is going to then transition towards a build that is not going to require the barracks. So therefore, I guess mech is going to be the most likely option. Couple of creep trimmers there, trying to crawl forward. The queens obviously will now also be able to spot what's going on, and this is almost always a clear indication that it is going to be mech. You don't really lift up your barracks like that in the early game if you don't plan on going for mech. So it's going to be a nice scout right now for the time being here for our Terran player in red. Still though, this is sending some really conflicting signs out, right? So we see the barracks float right now, but we also see a medevac and a bunch of marines inside of the medevac. What do you assume right now if you're Dark? Do you think it's going to be mech or bio? This is one of the things that I've noticed in particular the Korean Terrans getting really, really good at. This is not a very common thing to do in Europe just yet. But this is one of the things that make it really difficult to guess for a Zerg what they want to go ahead and do. So normally, right, if you go up against a Terran mech and you're a Zerg player, you want to focus on going Roaches and Hydras and maybe Vipers and Quick Hive and all that, right? Eventually, you want to get yourself Brute Lords and all those kind of units out to deal with that kind of army composition. However, if you go up against Bio, so an army composition based around the Marine, supported with Siege Tanks or maybe, you know, Widow Mines or something along those lines, right? You really want to focus a lot more on Banelings and whatnot instead. In this case, though, it is going to be a Spire. So Dark is going to go for what seems to be a Mutaling Bane. He might be making the assumption right now that this is indeed going to be a single barracks committed right now to the aggression. He did see a couple of Hellions. Obviously, they went after sniping creep tumors, but at this point, considering he's going Mutaling Bane, I'm thinking that he is making the assumption he's going up against a Bio Terran player, whereas obviously we can see the double armory already upgrading, as well as additional factories. Is this spotted actually by Zerg? Oh, look at that. I think the, yep, there you go. The Marines will be able to get at least one of those. The medevac is going to fly home. It is going to be able to get on out of there, but yeah, at this point, it's kind of a weird situation to be in for Dark. He did end up losing the 4th hatchery there too. Looks like his plan right now is to build 2 4th hatcheries. So he's going to be able to throw some stuff at a wall and hope that something sticks. It's a pretty common strategy when you do end up losing a base, but I'm curious to see where he's going to take this. So he's got the Spire. Mutas indeed will be coming out. TY though with the star senses. He's scanning right now for a hive timing, but he also figures out that indeed it is going to be a Spire there, and immediately Widow Mines as well as Thors are started up. What a cool way of playing, right? I really want to emphasize the subtle changes that are made here to the matchup. So look at this, right? TY, rather than going for the much more popular mechanical unit composition right now that's based around the Cyclone, he seems to be going for a unit composition that is much more old school. So he's gonna go for what seems to be Thor drops right now as well, which is obviously a relatively common thing. But he's not gonna go for Cyclone Hellion, and instead he's already adding on a lot of siege tanks here as well. So this is gonna be a very aggressive opener. Then he transitioned towards a lot of that Bio army. He got himself a lot of command centers, and now he's using that economic advantage he's created for himself to start building up that really strong mech army. Still though, Muta's obviously very annoying. There's already missile turrets set up everywhere because TY had the perfect scan. I guess he was gonna go for some of those aggressive Thor drops as well, or at the very least that's what I was assuming, but I think in this case, it is just gonna be those medevacs that are used defensively. So right now TY is trying to chase the Mutas right there, using the medevac to give that Thor a little bit of a speed boost. Alright, so Dark, yeah, he's getting himself missile and melee upgrades. He's not gonna go... Oh, actually, hold that thought. The Banelings are rolling forward right now. They found a bit of an opener. Looks like a couple SCVs there end up going down, but all things considered, that was really well handled there by the Terran player. But Dark is not entirely sure what kind of unit composition he wants to focus on, and he decides to go for both missile as well as melee upgrades. I think if he knew that this was going to be siege tank based, he'd probably go carapace. Just because the Zorklings and Banelings survive much easier against that, but we'll see where this is going to go. Really want to compliment TY though right here on all the tricks that he's playing. He makes this extremely difficult to scout, right? Going for the triple barracks early on, making a whole bunch of Marines, then using them later on. The medevacs for aggression, obviously, with the Marines in there, and then using the barracks for scouting, making his opponent still think it is going to be bio, forcing the Ling Bane army, forcing the melee upgrades, not going to go for the quick hive, and then he's transitioning towards that really slow stationary mech while building up his economy. So right now he's sitting on 4 bases that went up basically uncontested. Usually this traditional mech army that's based around Siege Tank Thor, it's the one that maxes out far slower than Zerg, but look at the supply count right now. It's at 190 versus 176. So I think what TY is looking to do right now is, if I were to make a guess, I think he wants to go for just a maxed out army push. He's got +2/+2 finishing up here at pretty much the perfect time. He's going to finish those right around the time that his maxed out army is going to make its way across the map. And I think he should be able to do a really, really powerful timing there. And it's going to all come down to Dark to try and defend that. Dark, though, in the meantime, he has been very busy building up that Hydra Ling Bane based army. He already did get himself some Vipers here as well. So those Vipers obviously are going to be critical. This has been spotted as well by TY. That one Liberator trying to be a nuisance. With really good abducts and really good blinding clouds, I guess there is a chance that these Vipers could do some work there too. But I'm starting to look at this. As long as TY pushes here, yeah, 2-2 is done right now. Look, he immediately unsieges pretty much everything he has, and he decides to move across. Super sick. Now, obviously, doing this, it does open you up. And by the way, it looks like all the mutas end up going down, except for one. But it does open you up to counterattacks as well, right? There's pretty much no defense over here by TY. And he's not going to be able to really produce anything right now because he's maxed out. So reinforcements are not going to be there to deal with this. Keep in mind, this is a very slow-moving army, right? That's one of the key aspects of this. It's extremely slow-moving. The Vipers, oh my god! Interference matrix is being used there. Miscontrol by Dark. Humongous error there. That's gonna make this extremely, extremely tough to hold. He just randomly flew those forward. Interference matrix coming out of those Ravens. I guess the TY was expecting his opponent to have the really good control there, but it did not end up going down. Brute Lords right now, though, are the name of the game here for Dark. So he's gonna try and simply move forward with those, but already there's Vikings. There's a bunch of Thors as well. They should be able to make a relatively short work of it. So keep in mind, Thors right now, they have 11 anti-air attack range, which is massive. Used to be 10 in the previous patch. Right now it's down to, or it's up to 11. Still though, this is a really awkward angle to fight in. A lot of those siege tanks are dealing friendly fire. The Thor's already taking a lot of damage, and I think there might actually just barely be enough for Dark to start pushing this back. Couple Corruptors right now in the front as well. The Queen's trying to transfuse whatever they can, and somehow, some way, right? With what seemed to be a very sloppy start to the engagement, Dark managed to push that army back. Okay. I guess the Brute Lords were unexpected, right? I mean, who expects Brute Lords after you see Hydra Ling Bane, or Muta Ling Bane rather, transition towards Hydras, and then a couple Vipers as well? You wouldn't really expect the Brute Lords. So Dark, also trying to think a couple steps ahead of his opponent, he's making the move to go for an army just like that. Well, TY has recognized, wait a second, that army is extremely slow moving. I guess Hellions might be able to get something done. One siege tank pretending to be a Hellion as well. It's gonna start using some of its shots to deal some of that damage as well to the creep tumors. It is just gonna siege up. That definitely was not an intended siege tank over there, and I think that that one is indeed gonna end up going down. Still though, what these Hellions are creating is a lot of time. Once again, we see another army here, this time around based around Cyclones, moving on the right-hand side of the map. So TY is now going to transition towards what seems to be that battle mech kind of army composition, but he still has those siege tank on the back of this as well, and he's going to be able to get the kill on that base for sure. Man, such a cool style of playing, right? So I uploaded a video yesterday If you want to see that one, I'll go ahead and post a link to it down below in the description of this video. But it's a much more battle mech based army composition by Gumiho. It almost ends up being very similar here. It's still going to be a lot of Cyclones. It's still going to be Liberators, it seems like, as well. But the way that they decided to get there is very different. Well, I'm not sure if I agree with this push over here, though. I mean, these Hellbats are cleaning up a bunch of this aggression. But the Brute Lords are definitely going to be able to push all of that army back, since it isn't really moving forward at all, because of all the little Brutelings being a nuisance there. At the same time, there was a bit of an aggressive push right here on the left-hand side as well. TY now, though, taking this opportunity to expand pretty much everywhere. So he's taken a base in the top right-hand corner. He's taken 2 additional command centers here on the left-hand side as well. You know what I like about this Cyclone-based army while we do watch another hatchery die? What I like about this this Cyclone-based army is the amount of SCVs that Terrans seem to get with this. You need quite a lot of economy in order to play proper Cyclone forces. Looks like a couple Corruptors there are going to start puking all over this command center in the top right. And that one is most definitely going to go down. The Caustic Spray is such an annoying ability, right? I don't think that Dark is going to... Yeah, there you go. I don't think that TY is really going to be able to get too much done there. But it's such an annoying ability. And once again, TY just cancels and he starts it back up. Oh, man. Okay. So, we seem to be in a scenario where this game can go in either direction. There's so much room for opportunity right now. Both of these players are what seem to be focusing right now on a strategy that is just trying to outmine the opponent. So, Dark, he hasn't really been pushing that aggressively. Actually, a couple of those Corruptors in the top right finally end up going down as well. But both of the players are just simply not pushing to end the game. They're pushing to try and slow down the opponent's economy. And this is really something that we've seen a lot more over like the last, I would say, year or so in StarCraft. A lot of pro gamers have... Like a couple years ago, right? It was very common for pro gamers to be accepting of their opponent having 2 bases, right? Then they were like, okay, 3 bases is fine too. But right now in StarCraft, we've reached a point where it seems like players are okay with their opponent having 6 bases, as long as they have 7. And it's just so sick because these strategies, they just develop so insanely fast when you have that much economy, right? When you've got all the money in the world and you can make your dream unit composition, you're trying to out-clever your opponent all the time as well. Second Spire now even being produced here. Dark recognizing that this game is likely to go the distance. He needs to be able to start double upgrading some of those air units here as well. And that's why he's getting himself the second Spire to start going for the Carapace upgrades too. Now, I still love this position, though, for TY, right? So, he has been sitting back for the majority of the, I guess, the second half of this game, after that big push ended up failing. But he has used the time that he's got to build up a ton of resources. So, he's maxed out, and he's getting himself a nice bank already. Still, though, this is a scary unit composition here from Dark. And Dark is one of the best late-game players in the world. This is like a unit composition that almost looks similar to the one that Zerg makes against maxed out Sky Terran. Right? It's very, very Corruptor heavy, a whole bunch of Vipers in the mix as well as those Infestors. This unit composition is super hard to control, by the way. I just wanted to point that out as well. This is a super hard unit composition to control with this many spellcasters and all that. But regardless, the Brute Lords are here. Parasitic Bomb has been used there on one of those key Liberators to force some of those Vikings back as well. And now that the Brutes are in position, I think they should be okay. Now, big anti-armor missile there. It does end up going down. A couple of those Infestors, though, now also using the fungal growth to force back some of that army. The Cyclones, in the meantime, managed to get the lock-on some of those juicy Vipers, and they indeed do end up killing them, but both players end up losing a ton. At the same time, though, on the left-hand side of the map, it looks like the Liberators are denying some of the mining time, and the Cyclones are desperately trying to shut down that hatchery. Will they be able to get it? At this point, since they're no longer locked on, it looks like they will not be able... Oh, well, oh my god, it died and it still got the kill, since the missile was flying across. What a sick scenario already. So, these kind of players are just so evenly matched, right? They're just so evenly matched that I'm curious to see where this game is going to take us in the late game. I haven't seen a lot of like ultra late game ZVT, to be completely honest with you. It just doesn't happen that often. Usually one player gets the advantage, and from there on out, they're going to be able to push forward. And it certainly has been TY that was at a significant advantage earlier. But not going to lie, Dark has been making an excellent decision here to just simply make a unit composition that's very passive. But he was able to stop that big push there from the Terran player just about a minute ago. Well, right now, though, he decided to spend a little bit of time sending those Brute Lords across the map as well. TY recognizes the slow army composition here of his Zerg opponent, and immediately he decides to move across the map, and he once again got himself a hatchery snipe right there in the center. Brute Lords finally are gonna arrive at the party. At the same time, a couple of those Hellions going to town at another mineral line that they found just a little bit ago. But at the same time, once again, the fungal growths are gonna slow down the retreat of that very fast-moving Terran army. And since all of these Terran units do a lot of damage, but they've got like no hit points, the majority of them end up dying. TY, though, feeling adventurous apparently, he's decided to take the command center at a location there that is normally considered to be the Zergs. At the same time, TY is also going to be able to get himself another one of those CCs started. And it does indeed end up finishing as well. He's going to be able to land it over at a fresh base. But this one obviously is very, very exposed. I just see a ton of command centers. How many are there so far? That is 6 orbitals, 3 planetaries, and 3 command centers that I think are likely going to morph into orbitals here in just a little bit as well. Oh, look at the transition here. While Dark is pushing forward here, TY is making the executive decision right now to start producing Battlecruisers. I was wondering why he hasn't been quickly remaxing. Instead, right now, he's gonna try and build that ultimate late-game Terran army based around the Battlecruiser. The thing is, though, those units take about 4.5 years to produce. Have you ever tried making Battlecruisers? They take such a long time, and that means Dark has got a lot of time here as well to continuously push forward and to try and get these bases to stop mining. Huh. So, where is this gonna go right now? 3 Battlecruisers being produced. Keep in mind, right? They got themselves that armor upgrade already from the Terran mech that we saw earlier. They're just about to finish up the +3 air weapons upgrade as well, which is extremely potent. And I think that with enough Battlecruisers, you can shut down basically all of those ground units of Zerg with ease. The thing is, there's already Infestors out, and we already saw a whole lot of Vipers as well. Neuroparasite is a big, big danger to all of those Battlecruisers, right? If you can take control of them, all of a sudden the Terran army just melts. So, I like the idea here from TY, but I feel like he's giving Dark a little bit too much wiggle room. Just a couple minutes ago, Dark was up with his back against the wall. Right now, he's taken basically all of the bases here in the bottom section of the map, and he's been maxing out and mining a lot more than his Terran opponent. Look at the amount of workers still going to town. So that's 70 plus workers of harvesting resources all the time. And while TY obviously does have mules, he has now actually emptied his entire bank. So he's sitting at 137 supply. Oh my god. Did those not get spotted? Oh, they didn't get spotted. For some reason, they did not. Oh man. Okay, well the Battlecruisers at the very least are now showing themselves. Yamato gun will be activated right there on the hatch as well. And Dark is taking a lot of damage already. Look at the amount of damage they deal. It's insane. At the same time though, while that Zerg army is moving forward, he knew the Infestors are there. If you hit a fungal growth on a Battlecruiser, the tactical jump ability is disabled. So rather than going after the hatchery, which he may have been able to get, he decided to jump and get those Battlecruisers to safety instead. I haven't seen a lot of games where that's even relevant, but it's one of the big changes they did make to the fungal growth ability in the recent patch. Nowadays, all movement impairing abilities are basically no longer allowed to be used. Or you can't like blink, you can't use tactical jump, you can't use any of those movement abilities when you get fungal growth. So it's certainly an ability with a lot of potential versus, for example, Battlecruiser armies. Guys, he's just adding on more and more BCs. How many does he have right now? He's got 7. And there's 3 more in production. This is gonna be the ultimate Battlecruiser late-game army composition from TY. We are all very familiar with the Protoss Death Ball. I am not too familiar with the air-based Terran Death Bolt. But here we go. Ugh, fungal growth being utilized immediately. A lot of infested Terrans are coming down as well. And look at the amount of damage that the Terrans deal. They just shut down so many of those Battlecruisers with ease. Corruptors moving forward, fungal growth being utilized, and I think that the majority of them ended up going down. Sure, Dark ended up losing quite a bit there as well, right? But there's no denying that that kind of unit composition from Zerg is much easier to replenish. Then again, though, TY decided to now technical jump towards the bottom left-hand corner. Knowing that all of those Zerg units are stuck in the top right, they are going to be able to kill a command center over there as well. But TY ends up killing what seems to be 2 bases, and the Zerg opponent effectively only just now got 1 after that aggression. Now, obviously, this command center over here ended up dying as well, but that was a quick decision there from TY to make the risky jump towards the bottom left, and I think he did get rewarded there. Still, though, man, he's getting more Battlecruisers. I'm looking at these fights, and I just don't see how TY could come out ahead in these kind of engagements, right? Those infested Terrans, and then all of those infestors, and then now the corruptors as well. I've got a feeling that it will just be shut down. I want to believe that a maxed out Terran army based around the Battlecruiser is as strong as TY seems to think it is, but I don't know, man. It doesn't look like a Mothership Carrier Tempest High Templar army. You know what I mean? Like, it's scary. But it feels like Zerg definitely has the answer to it. Obviously, you gotta add to that as well that a lot of Terran players are not used to playing that late-game Terran army. I mean, they are not used to playing that big flying army. Whereas Zerg obviously makes this same unit composition against maxed-out Protoss armies for years now. And, yeah, they certainly have a lot of experience playing this kind of style. And I think they're gonna be able to make short work of it as well. But still, Hydras are not the name of the game, guys. Hydras are not the counter to Battlecruisers. Hydras just absolutely melt. I think it has to be Corruptors. Now keep in mind, Corruptors, they already have a lot of solid upgrades as well. They're at +3/+1. Here we go. A couple of them are moving forward. And he is going to be able to, get a bunch of those Yamato cannons and then tactical jump all of the BCs out of there. None of them ended up going down there, if I saw that correctly. And that does mean that Dark ends up getting a pretty poor trade there, all things considered. Man, I've not seen a lot of +3/+3 Battlecruisers, not gonna lie. They are extremely good when they get their full set of upgrades. It seems like they haven't really been taking that much damage. Right now, though, since Dark apparently recognizes that he needs to make Zerglings, why would you... That's crazy, right? Somehow, some way, he decided to make a whole bunch of Zerglings here, and he managed to get some value there as well. By the way, look at the amount of work kills so far, but so far, I like this more and more for TY. This started off with a situation where I really did not like the army composition he was going for. I wanted to like it very much, but my brain was telling me it just wasn't gonna work. Right now, though, the longer that we go, the closer he is getting to maxing out. And I think that's probably the majority of the trouble. If you manage to get maxed out with Sky Terran, I guess, like, it always feels awkward saying that, Sky Terran. But I guess as long as you manage to get maxed out, you're gonna be in a great spot. Keep in mind, anti-armor missile is huge. Anti-armor missile can shut down so much of this army with ease. Once again, though, Yamato cannons are being utilized everywhere. And here we go. Big fight happening. We see a lot of the Corruptors taking a lot of damage already. Yamato cannons certainly are providing some of the value as well. Nice little bit of micro here by TY, trying to get those weakened Battlecruisers to go towards the back as well. One of those infestors, though, look at that, taking control of that Battlecruiser. It's now starting to fight its brothers as well. And while these fights seem to go relatively in favor of Terran, I just look at this and I'm looking at it and I'm assuming, right, that he's not gonna have the time to rebuild that. Zerg can just sort of remake these army compositions really easily as well. Still, though, now that I'm looking at this a little bit closer, since he did manage to micro the Battlecruisers with tactical jump properly, he managed to keep a lot of them alive. And Dark, he is starting to run out of resources. He does finally have some mining bases once again, but it's not like he can just replenish this army with additional, like, 30 Corruptors, right? He's making as many as he can. He actually forgot Carapace upgrades here for a little while as well. That's massive, right? When you think about the amount of times that a Battlecruiser shoots, every single one of those shots could be neglected with 1 damage. That's massive. So I feel like armor upgrades certainly could make the difference right here for Dark, but we'll see where this one is gonna go. Keep in mind, it is not free to upgrade your Battlecruisers. Or to repair your Battlecruisers, rather. You cannot magically repair them. You need resources, gas, and minerals to repair. And I think that Dark is going to be able to force the lift off on this base. Once again, though, while TY is in a little bit of trouble over here, he's trying and testing the waters once again. He's going towards the bottom left-hand corner. Looks like he will be able to pick up one hatchery with ease. And he's going to try and do the same right here to that other hatchery that he already killed a couple times as well. Not using the Yamato cannon. Instead, though, a lot of the Zerg units do get burrowed in this area. Keep in mind, tactical jump is going to be on cooldown for a little while, and the Corruptors, they are hunting right now. They recognize that these battleships managed to jump towards the bottom left, and as long as they get spotted, oh my god, I think Dark just managed to absolutely catch his opponent off guard. That seemed to be a bit of a desperation move after the bases ended up going down in the top right. And Dark, he ended up losing his bases to that trick once before. He is not gonna let that happen once again. Oh man, that was an army composition that had a lot of potential. I can't believe we actually got to that point in the game after TY ended up getting this game started with 3 proxy barracks on the other side of the map, right? It's the same game. We've seen a lot, but so far, I have to say, I like the way the Terran mech is developing. I just don't know about the Battlecruiser late game transition. I hope though that you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. A special shout out to the Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much for all of your generosity. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I'll see you once again in the next one.